Welcome to Anti-Anxiety Hour. I'm your host, Illicit Ghost. Heard about you on the internet, and I couldn't get enough of it. Now I wanna have a little chat, wanna know where your head is at. I just wanna talk to you, find out more about what you do. I just wanna hear your view, tell me more about what you do. I'm a Illicit Ghost, I'll be your host, cause it's my radio. I just wanna hear your view, tell me more about what you do, what you do, what you do, what you do, what you do. Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here with me. Another episode of Anti-Anxiety Hour is here. And today, we are having a very, very special guest who is a very good friend of mine from New York, and I cannot wait to bring him on. But before I do, I just wanted to let everyone know about some things that are happening this week. So you may or may not know that I have a new song coming out on Friday, and it is called Higher. So if you want, you can pre-save it. I think the link is in my bio, but definitely go do that. And this week there is going to be a lot more happening. So I'm not going to really go into details, but definitely keep an eye on my Instagram. Okay, hold on. Instagram seems to have changed its entire thing. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so basically we're just waiting for Lathan to come in. But in the meantime, you guys actually did send me questions that I would be happy to answer right now. We have a question from Ved is Dead. What's the thing that has helped you the most with your anxiety? The thing that has helped me the most is definitely meditation. Or actually, I'd probably have to say therapy first. Therapy has been the most helpful for me. And then second is meditation, but it's like kind of, I guess a mixture of those two has really been life-changing for me. So I would definitely encourage you to try either of those things. We also had, hold on one second. I think I can just go in the question box and do this. Oh yeah, I can. Okay, that's like a lot easier. Hold on a second. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this jacket is one of my favorite jackets. Okay, I'm gonna take another question. What was the one moment that inspired you to pursue your career in music? Definitely, I think just feeling like I hit a point where I just felt really lost, and I had always loved music, and it's something that I always felt like comfortable doing. So I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I see Lathan is here, so I'm going to invite him in. Okay. Do I like Pink Floyd? Of course I do. My favorite song is Money. You can check out my cover. Hi.
Yo, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah. How are you doing?
Amazeballs.
Where are you?
I am in my house in Red Hook, Brooklyn,
Cool.
drinking a little beer. Yeah, go ahead.
Nice. I wanted to give you like a little intro for anyone who's just meeting Lathan. Lathan is a producer, a musician, amazing saxophone player, engineer, mixer. Am I missing anything? Educator,
Lover of food, right?
lover of
Yeah.
food, lover of life sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about like how you got your start in music, because a lot of people that are watching, they kind of want to get started, but they don't really know how. So if you could just explain what your journey was.
Wow. 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 It's a long journey. Um, my I grew up with music and I have a connection to music that's very deep. I grew up, my first musical experience was going to my grandfather's funeral, and going to my grandfather's funeral out in the country of North Carolina. Um, I hear this gospel music coming from this church and was just taken away. I walk into this church and I see this old woman singing call and response with like 400 people to her frail voices singing. And then like 400 people are singing back. I'm holding my mom's hands. Again, I'm 5 years old. I see my first dead body. My father sings Danny Boy to the whole choir and makes just everyone just balls cry. You
Aww,
know?
that's a beautiful story, though.
Yeah. And I grew up with my father go singing at a lot of funerals, which is also just dealing with death. Like four of my father's sisters died of cancer over my like childhood going into my
Oh,
20s,
wow, that's horrible.
and just dealing with that, and kind of I've been thinking about it recently. My connection to bad music is like something after that being powerful, like my father singing, and then all of a sudden you hear the worst choir in the world singing after him. But you're at a funeral, so you don't really think of it as bad music because everyone's giving effort.
Yeah.
And so I was in love with music, surrounded by music. My parents had their first thing was to give everyone music lessons. So when we were 8 years old, and I have an older brother, older sister, we were promised music lessons. And me being the youngest was like super excited about it, like being grown up like my brother and sister, and I just would play on piano and maybe also after I sang in choir before that. But when I had my first piano teacher, I thought I was an alien,
Why?
you know, because we did not communicate. We did not vibe well together. I didn't understand anything she was saying. I didn't think I was good at music. All these thoughts that I'm sure that everyone's had. I felt like just maybe I just don't know how to do it. You know, and I'm 8 years old thinking I'm a failure.
But why? Who is saying this isn't good enough? Was it just you?
No, it wasn't about it's not good enough. It's just like I have no clue what you're saying, so therefore I don't even know how to play piano. And we did not communicate on this very visceral, basic level, which is like something if anyone's ever taken a music teacher, they're music teachers who can be great, but you don't vibe with, you know? And I just didn't really vibe with her well. And so let me go a little further. But then in North Carolina at that time, you had to be in either band or orchestra or in choir. And since like all my buddies were in like band class, and I was like 12 years old, I got into band class. And because I got in a band class, my parents wanted me to get a saxophone teacher, which I was excited to have. And I ended up taking from this guy named Mr. Funches. And Mr. Funches was this like cool, hip, like band director and like local saxophone legend, and we would read through classical music and jazz music. And he actually gave me everything of Coltrane's on the Impulse label on tape at that time. And so when I was 12 years old, I just started going super deep, listening to like John Coltrane and like Glenn Gould, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. I was totally just going in my own little like hole, you know, and I got really into those guys. I was getting less in the pop music, like the pop music that I was listening to at the time, like that drove me crazy and even away from pop music was like I remember listening so many fucking times to like Billy Ocean, Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Car, which I totally don't hate that song, but as a kid I just heard it everywhere and I just heard it on every radio station and it just drove me away from pop music at the
Oh,
time.
wow.
And so I just started listening to a lot of jazz exclusively, playing in band, wind ensemble, going to music camps, and just getting really deep and not thinking about it as a career, but just thinking about like there's so much knowledge, there's so much information, and there's so many interesting people and stories, you know? And that's kind of how I really just got enamored with music even before I thought went to college for or as a career, you know, which I think if we're talking about careers and just kind of going aside, that's something that you just need to know how to do, I think, with your life, but definitely with maybe what you think is your passion is like, how can you maybe not take it so seriously all the time, you know? Because a lot, or maybe even more importantly, like analyzing what is this process of taking something so seriously,
Right.
you know? Because a lot of times this process of taking it seriously is really just shitting on yourself,
I
you
mean,
know?
yeah, that's definitely something that you have taught me. Um,
Yeah,
and
you
like
know,
just learning to like kind of take a step back and like laugh when maybe things aren't going like the way you want them to, even like, in terms of music, like you're not playing the way you want to, like just letting it be.
yeah. Well, and just understanding that want of yours to be at a certain level is an expectation, and that expectation is based in the past. And maybe if you let go of that expectation, things will appear that are even beyond your imagination, you
Yeah,
know? But that takes like this leap of faith, this believing in your own identity, you know, and but also not trying to codify like this is who I am, but just like, you know, existing and being kind of like a simple person, you know.
right.
And so for me, just going back to like what got me into the music career, just like I just love music and I wanted to know every single thing about music. I wanted to know about jazz and how jazz was a mixture of African and classical. And then I you know, went to school, and I went to school, and I got crushed by like the jokingly the music school industrial complex,
Yeah,
you know, and maybe I'll get into that. And the thing I very luckily through my parents, they always taught me that how to learn. So because they taught me how to learn, I never ever believed that anything was hard, you know, and that's even they called me immature and stuff. But when I got to college, everyone started talking about how hard everything is, you know, like this is the hardest concerto, this is the fastest scales, and there was this mentality like that came along with that of like, you know, because it's hard, you know, why is it hard? We must be dumb. We just must not be good, you know, and all this whole vibe and also teachers teaching you about perfection, you know, and perfection. I have no clue about it anymore. I have no desire for it anymore. But there's this time when you wanted to compare yourself with like, you know, famous composers, your favorite saxophone player, your favorite producer or rapper or whoever, and that's toxic. I
Right.
guess very simply,
Yeah.
and I had to actually spend time deprogramming myself from some of the things I learned in college, which is just like the thing I think I learned in spades is that other people are better than you, you know?
Right.
And so I just kind of had to unlearn a lot of that. And then I still was like seeing the music industry and hearing the stories of my friends who were superstars, prodigies, or whatever, and seeing them go into the world and seeing them kind of come back and not be as happy as I thought they would be, like following their dreams, you
Yeah.
know? And that became another part. And just, talking to some of the ones I got along with, I would just say like, how was it to play with this famous person? And or how was it to play in this dream band that you dreamed about? And you would get these mixed reviews, you know? And so for me, very purposely, instead of going into the professional music industry, I just kind of wanted to be a teacher. I was working construction and I just wanted to make music on my own terms because of the pressure that I saw in the industry put on people, and for me at that time, I was not in a healthy mental state to take that on, I think. And I think I very luckily understood that I wasn't. So I just didn't. I just taught and kind of taught myself a lot at that time, and started playing more like free jazz, experimental music at that time, maybe more experimental classical music um, for quite a bit of time. And then maybe in 2010, started playing maybe more with like groove orchestras, doing recording sessions and maybe more electronic music going into like dance music, you know?
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
what
yeah,
was the
go ahead, sorry.
point in your life where you like actually started making music for yourself?
Ha 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 ha. Yesterday?
Okay.
I think it was just yesterday that
Oh my
that
God.
happened. You
Same
know,
here.
yeah, maybe very recently. Not to say that there haven't been time, not to say that I haven't loved music all of my life, but you asked a specific question, making music for myself.
I'm just saying, like, was there
Maybe,
like a point where, because at least for me, there was a point where I was so fed up with exactly what you're talking about, like all the perfection, that I was like, fuck this. Like, I want to do my own thing. I want to make my violin sound like hard to listen to and like dirty. That was, I don't
yeah.
know, that was just like my experience. So I was just wondering if there was a point. There doesn't have to be, but
I mean, there was just, I think I just was so naturally that, I was such a natural questioner, aka smart ass, that I will always ask the questions that piss people off, like teachers more so, if they were not on my side for me learning that. And so that's what I'm saying in school. I feel every question I was asking my saxophone teachers pissed them off, but it was coming from me actually like passionately studying music and listening to music and making these observations and trying to become a better artist. And then I would get, shut down in that experience. And I think I'm sure that happens in everyone's. This goes into how we relate because we relate to each other in this very toxic way. That's a competitive way, you know, and that's what I had to really realize, which has helped me as a teacher, as a romantic partner, as a human, just to like not relate in this competitive, comparative relationship, which ends up being the average in the current way that we do things, you know?
so how did you learn how to do that? because maybe some people are experiencing that right now. Like, what would your advice be?
Uh, yeah. That's a good question. When I was 16, I first learned about meditation. And and so when I was 16, I learned about meditation. And for me, I've studied meditation a lot. It has changed in its meaning to me, but it has really helped me to be able to see the world clearly, including myself, and especially being able to and help me face my own dysfunction. Right, we're all connected to this society that we all have critiques on, but because we're part of the society, we are a part of that dysfunction, you know, and really trying to figure out like what your part in this dysfunction is, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Was that answering your question? What was your
I honestly can't remember my question.
Oh, but you're asking like people, you know, just like well, help just ideas of helping people. I think one of the best things to learn how to do, and the reason I mentioned meditation, is to listen to what you're thinking and to listen to yourself and to listen to others.
I
But that's hard as
I
shit.
know, but also like not everyone can is self-aware. You know what I mean?
No, sure. I mean, yeah, but not everyone is self-aware. Yeah, so are you asking me how do we bring self-awareness?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm asking.
Can I ask you, like, how, I may ask, reverse it on you for a second. How have you, like, increased your self-awareness?
Meditation, therapy.
Any other ways? Any other ways?
Other than meditation and therapy, I mean,
Well, you said therapy, which is different than meditation. What's different about therapy for you than
it's
meditation?
someone like telling me, hey, like you're not you're not seeing like you have to see things from a different perspective. You're too like tunnel vision, you know? So like having
Right.
someone say that to me and like hearing another perspective is like eye-opening. And
How are you able to hear it though? How were you able
it
to
took
hear it? And
me
do you
like
know?
years and years of learning to listen. Because I realized, hey, I'm in therapy for so long, but things aren't really getting better. Oh, maybe I should like listen and try to take action, that kind of thing.
Now looking back in your life, can you realize times that you weren't necessarily listening and like what that was for you?
Yeah, it was just, this constant like not wanting to hear certain things, not wanting
Do you know
to
why?
turn
Was
to,
it this
because it was
for
hard.
me? That was because I say
It
that
was
again.
hard.
Uh, for me, maybe particularly, I wanted to be the smartest person ever as a kid, which is the hilarious idea. I am going to go ahead and tell you, but I did. I'm one of those kids, you know,
Yeah, I
and
do know.
and with you want to be the smartest person ever, you can't have someone show you that they're smarter than you. Stop being
Yeah.
smarter than me, you know?
Yeah.
And that was a decent amount of my vibe, which that's fucking angry.
Hmm.
That's not very friendly. Like how friendly can I be if I'm like afraid you're gonna be smarter than me, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I love your laughter. Um, yeah. I mean, but and I'm seeing like a lot of people talk about listening, and yeah, I think I grew up in a time how I think how I learned how to listen was really my environment. My mom was a real estate broker. I didn't have a cell phone, and she would come late to pick me up from school.
Okay.
you know, and because she would come late to pick me up from school, I didn't know how long it was gonna take. and I had to figure out some way to buy the time. So I would literally grab a ball, throw it up, catch it, throw it up, catch it. Like 5 minutes later, and all of a sudden, some thoughts would come to my brain, but I'd just throw it up, catch it, throw it up, catch it. And I didn't realize how genius that was until maybe now, like more recently, and that's really kind of that's my process. My process is I wake up, I probably walk around my house, make some food, and then I do the things I'm trying to do. And then I try to be aware of what I'm trying to do and what happens, which is usually completely different things. And then I'm done. But then I like wake up the next day and kind of do the same thing again. And and a part of that with the meditation is now I always have that critical voice that says, well, that's bullshit. That sucks. Blah, 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 on forever. But I just take it less seriously, a lot less seriously. And I know that it's just one of the many voices that are in my brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that story of the like catching the ball because it was like you were like doing an exercise in like mindfulness.
Yeah, without
Yeah,
knowing
at a really young age, which is like
Yeah, yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah.
amazing. Huh?
Right. And but this gets me maybe back to as an adult, how do we have some play in our lives? And also how do we mentally come to the end of things? Right? Because there has to be some moment where we're done for a second at least. Even though if we look at our lives, that's not the reality, but we need to be able to feel done.
Right. What?
I'm just reading. I'm from Brazil, and you
Yeah,
brow.
I know. I was like, what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm down though. I'm
Yeah.
down.
Um,
Hey, everybody.
yeah, if you're just tuning in, we're on with Lathan Hardy. You can also,
Anyone?
I forgot to mention, well, I don't know actually if you wanted to just share a little bit about like the ensembles you're in and the music you're working on. Like, what are you up to?
Yeah, that's a big, kind of going into that moment. I feel through who I've been talking to, including you, that I think everyone is starting over. And definitely as musicians, we're all starting over. Um, I my music right now, and maybe this is back to what you said. I've just started cranking out songs. Like I'm probably working on 40 songs right now, and before I was just much more of a saxophone player. So I would just love to go into situations and vibe with people. And now I'm getting into more of the compositional and even like the background where I don't want to, I just want to create and express, and kind of be in the background of things. And so now I'm putting together an ensemble. I say ensemble. I'm putting together a group we're going to record in September. But right now, the exciting part is just, calling a person over and being like, "Hey, buddy, you want to come over and play?"
Yeah.
And actually just play and not have any concrete ideas of perfectionism for this like recording session. For me, I just don't want that stuff. Like that's not why I'm a musician. That's not why I'm choosing the path that I'm choosing. I'm choosing it for like quality of life. And I want to have a quality of life where I look forward to the moments of my day, you
Yeah.
know? And yeah, and so I have a SoundCloud, which is my name backwards, which is the same idea I have on Instagram, that I post just like sketches that I'm working on and stuff that all the time. Um, and then I am really working on this project, and it'll be within the next year. And then I'm also looking for people to collaborate with right now, kind of very broadly, just to get myself out of my hole and out of the people who I know. Um, if you go to my Instagram page I have a performance actually in Prospect Park on 420.
Really?
Um, Yeah, yeah, and it's going to be more of the fine art stuff with dancers and musicians. I'm probably going to have a saxophone, a flute, but also like bells and trees and other beautifulness going on. So if anyone's around 420, I think it's going to be in the Meadowland. And if you had any interest to watch us practice, we're practicing that Friday and Monday before, I think around roughly around noon or 1 o'clock in the Meadowland at the park. And so if anyone would like to check us out, please come there. It should be really fun. And it'll be my first performance in public of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to ask you, like, was it difficult for you to be in quarantine because you were playing out like what, at least what, 4 or 5 nights of the week before?
I think also in short, yes, no.
Well, I feel like I've seen you like a million times, like it felt like
Sure.
there
I
was something
mean,
at least every week.
right. No, I was probably performing 4 or 5 times a week, you know? And I was probably performing 4 or 5 times a week, and then all of a sudden I performed 5 times last year, you know? Um, and the reason I say yes, no is I feel like maybe luckily in a funny way, I've been through enough crises, like my own existential crisis with September 11th that we mass went through. Then there was the financial crisis of 2008, which hit me where I didn't make income for like a year or year and a half. Um, and so I've hit these things, and then when I hit this, I've felt super easy at adapting, and kind of was just maybe through meditation was not able to focus on it, and partially because I just didn't have the time or just didn't see it being fruitful. But and also like I'm weird where I can just see the inverse. For instance, I come home most times in my life 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and I like pass out. This whole year, oh my God, I've been home at like 10 o'clock. It's been like absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. Is there any music for antidepressant? I
Yeah.
see.
We have a lot of people
That's a
are asking
great.
for some advice. I guess if you could share a little advice if you have any, and then the music that you listen to.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Advice. Couple pieces of advice, maybe. One thing, if you're brave enough this is modern day bravery. I'll show you. If you learn how to do this every day, and like initially for a minute, and then slowly longer, right? And it's really just this. And then I would do it again, and just this idea of listening to your own voice, and slowly learning how to listen to your sonic voice, but also your internal voice. And like maybe with that, like write these ideas down that are inside your head. And without, whatever they are, like I want to get pizza. I don't like Henry. I thought that movie was pretty great. Just whatever thoughts kind of come to your brain, and actually, because as I talk about it now, that helps you kind of create this idea of flow that people are talking about, right? Because you're just hearing your thoughts and accepting them and seeing what they are, right? And but it initially comes from just hearing your voice, you know. And so, can you just slow yourself down and give yourself a moment just to hear your voice? And then you can even enter other mantras. Like you could say as you sing that sound, that like this is the most beautiful sound that you've ever heard, you know. And if you have like, you know, what if your brain says, no, this is not the most beautiful sound. Billie Holiday is more beautiful.
I
Blah, blah,
was
blah,
just
blah, is
thinking
more
that. I was
beautiful.
like, this
You
isn't
know,
gonna go well for me.
but well, then you have to ask, why do you think that? You know, because like, right, and also like, it's the we're talking about now is really the concept. That's why it's the most beautiful sound you ever heard, because it's this moment, and it's not the past, and it's not someone else. You know, and so can you really? Again, I call that modern day bravery, which is just allowing yourself, creating a pathway to see yourself for what you are and not how you want yourself to be, how you want the world to think about who you want to be, but for what you are, you know, and then start to maybe love that vessel of yourself, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty powerful. Like, and also if, you're listening to this and you feel like it's something you just can't do, like, you can do it. It just takes practice. Because at least for me, I felt like I couldn't.
My only caveat, I agree, I completely
Okay.
agree. Um, I completely agree. You just have to understand whether you actually like it. If you like
Right.
it, then take the steps to supply it. But then, because it gets deeper, maybe you don't like it.
But then what?
Because
If you
that could
don't like
be
it, then what?
do something else. You know what I'm saying? That's I think you have to give yourself a little bit of that freedom, right? I played saxophone all of my life, but I still give myself the freedom to like, you know what, I might be done with saxophone. Even though that's a really ridiculous concept for me where I am with it now. But like I have the room for it where it's like it doesn't complete me, it doesn't make me. It's
Right.
just a way, a tool that I use to express myself through. I like the bin practice. Oh, I love these chats. Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah. You know, but like, you know, really, again, I swear to you that meditation of listening to your own voice is more powerful than you might initially give it credit. And then with like inspiring music, it's all over the map. I'll give you like, I'm gonna give just, if you know, the Bango soundtrack. Random, Vengo is real great. It's a Spanish flamenco soundtrack. There are a couple of bangers on there that will like make you have a great day where you can just kind of be ready. Um, what else? What y'all say? Another one is I think any of
You
the
said Venmo.
Ethiopics. That's that. I think that's. I think that's autocorrect
Let's unpack
actually. But
that.
I know. I know. Um, that's hilarious. Ethiopics. If you don't know the word of samba, get your butt on some samba. You know what I'm saying? Samba will make you just be able to like enjoy life, you know? Like there's something about that beat, that big beat that's just so communal and gets you outside of yourself. And I think sometimes maybe backing up, what I think depression is. Yep, I was confused. What I think yeah, this is a commercial for Venmo actually. It's all win for Venmo. Um it's an infomercial. Uh,
That's why you're here.
yeah, totally. Uh, oh my god. Oh my god. I'm being really ridiculous. What was I thinking? we were talking about oh, depression. What from depression can manifest in many ways, but how it's depressed in my life, which I've battled a lot of depression like early on in my life, and I feel like I don't really have those issues anymore, knock on wood or whatever, but I feel like I meet those things. And I feel like depression for me had a lot of times been thinking about things and not doing them, and because I didn't do the things I thought about, it kind of fed back in my psyche, you know, and now that and that kind of goes back to the simple meditation. Now that I think about things and try to support them to the finish line, like I have concerns, and I have like maybe fears or observations and critiques or something, but not depression, which is very different, and not this overwhelming sense of dread that like has kept me in my bed for days or weeks or months or whatever, and yeah, I think, and that's the counterintuitive part that I'm now comfortable with is just like, I know sometimes if I get low, that I then just need to do some stuff for a while, and then I'll usually kind of regulate, like I do a lot of production stuff that it's great, but it's still not the same because I've been playing my saxophone for 30 years. So me picking my saxophone and just wandering on it and getting my emotional content out of my instrument in that way, I get right back to zero.
Wow.
It's another version. It's for me is another version of a therapist, and also that's why I like that's why my first entryway was to non-vocal music, even though I grew up in the church hearing vocals. But I just sometimes think these sounds are expressing exactly how I feel, and then words kind of complicate them sometimes, you
Yeah,
know.
I agree with that.
And that's even how I songwrite now. Is I'll make melodies and then I attach words to them, and like hopefully they stick, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyone in the chat got questions, or
Um,
did I answer everyone's questions?
we did get I got some like before we went on.
Yeah, sure. Ask.
Um, we have one that says, I have an alto sax, but no knowledge of playing it. Can I learn it on my own? Also, I already play piano and guitar.
I would say yes to that generically, but if you get in touch with a person like me, even if you're not on, I could do it virtually because the only reason I'm reluctant about that is not just learning an instrument. I feel it's similar with the way that I teach it. I'm helping you learn yourself. So the instrument is just a conduit for learning yourself, just like the piano is, but there are going to be certain physics and physical things that would help you with the concepts with. So I think honestly, when you're studying a new instrument, it's nice to have a teacher that shows you what the fundamentals are, but maybe because you are an accomplished piano or because you play piano, you don't need weekly lessons like you did when you were a kid, but you just need to understand how to transfer these keyboard, because this is a keyboard too on saxophone. This is a different type of keyboard and it just works differently,
Okay.
And so that's what I would say. If you have any, and if you want to do that, you can contact me, slide in my DMs on the Grammy,
I will also pass
you
your
know.
info to that person because I know
Yeah, and
it's
also if anyone, I mean, I'm in New York. I try to travel a decent amount. I'm gonna try to travel a lot this year. If anyone wants us to reach out to me, please don't be afraid to. I love to chat.
what's your Instagram?
My Instagram is Nahtal,
I'm
Nahtal.
putting it again in the
And
comments.
yeah, questions, collaborations, check out my music or whatever, all the things that people are afraid to do, go for it.
I like that. Um, One more question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, whatever.
Someone wants to know, what instruments do you play?
Oh, great question. I play all the saxophones, or so soprano, alto, tenor, baritone. I play flute, and really falling in love with flute right now. I'm also teaching a lot of flute right now. I play bass clarinet, which I really also love. And then I'm like a synthesizer junkie, like it's my other like little my other little thing, Um, and so with that, synthesizer goes into production, and I feel my classical music understanding is really most used when I'm like either writing songs, but also like kind of EQing. Reminds me of like what I learned in classical music, because you're making just these frequencies work together with each
Right.
other, and that's my like. I just love that stuff, But so woodwinds. If you have a bassoon, bring it to me. I'll try to play it. We'll at least have fun with it.
Okay. I usually ask every guest of mine 3 questions
hmm
at the end.
Yeah,
So I wanted to
great.
ask you, you kind of already answered this, but what is your anti-anxiety anthem? Like, is there a specific song that makes you feel like uplifted or
Mm.
relaxed?
Hold on. To officially answer this, yeah, it really might be. It's that. It's
Um, Hold on. Think I think you might have frozen. Oh, there you are.
sorry.
Okay.
I was trying to see if I could go and do multiple things on my computer. I cannot. I recall Mars. It's something like this. Is the song on the Bango soundtrack?
Let me see if I can find it. I can't find it. I can't find it.
Did you do Bango soundtrack? Do Bango soundtrack and do A arc. I probably spelled it terribly. You know me.
Okay. It's not coming on Spotify for me.
Oh yeah, it might not be. Yeah,
Maybe
it's
it's not on
probably like a
Spotify.
YouTube. Yeah. Let me. I'm kind of in my brain right now.
Oh, I might have
I
done
mean,
it.
honestly, you could
I
put
think I found
meters
it.
on. Yeah, you ready? Put it on.
Yeah, I got it. It's on SoundCloud.
Nice.
Um, and, hold on, I'm gonna just put it in.
That will help you any time with your life. I swear to you. It's if you're having a night where you like as a performer have to go and perform and you're kind of not feeling it, put that song on.
Nice. I'll check it out.
Yes, that's the spelling of it.
It's all right. This is why we have computers.
Oh, that's so good.
Um, my
Was that? Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you said you had more questions, and I was going to answer your questions. That's all. Is that your third
Oh,
one? Did you ask me
that
another one?
was my first question.
Great.
My second question is, what are you most grateful for right now?
Hmm. I feel like I'm really grateful for knowing what I need to live well. You know, I feel like I really understand how to allow myself to live well. And it's almost like it's not a choice anymore, you know? I feel like I'm very secure and comfortable with that feeling.
Nice.
You know?
That's a good thing to know.
You know, I mean, again, if I could touch your head and show you the other aspects of my life, where like, oh, that's not living well. That's not living well. That's whoa, yeah, that's not. You call that living well? Oh,
You know what? It doesn't matter. It's whatever works.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
makes you
yeah.
feel
And that's what I
good.
mean. Well, and that's what I mean. This feels like it's working on
Yeah,
both sides, you know?
that's good.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, totally.
I also wanted to ask you, what is something that brings you peace other than music?
The most real one, and you know this. You know the answer to this, don't you?
Yeah, but I want you to say it.
And it's just making. I mean, it's walking.
I was gonna say cooking.
Ah, no, no. Walking brings me more peace than cooking,
Okay.
probably. You know, I mean, cooking gives me a lot of peace, but there's a certain peace that I get through walking, where I'm like a very calm, happy puppy dog after I go and walk for 40 minutes, and I'm just so mild and so easy, you know?
Yeah, I would have to agree. I love walking too, as you know.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, thank you for coming on
My
and for
pleasure.
being
My
open with
pleasure.
us, um, for
Yeah.
sharing your story. Appreciate it. And
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being a great friend, even
same
beyond
to you.
this moment.
Same to
Yeah.
you. Um, and yeah, if you guys want to check out Lathan's music, it's at Nahtal on SoundCloud.
Yeah. And if you want to hear some other songs of mine, which I think you say you put on the
I
playlist, I
did.
was in this band called Holy Hand Grenade also, which is a group I just was just previously in that I have a bunch of music with. And you can hear me play saxophone in that group.
Yeah, it's on my anti-anxiety playlist if you guys want to
Awesome.
check it out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's this song called Summer Joy on there. And
Yeah, and yeah,
yeah, saxophone is Lathan playing, so check it out. It's an awesome
yeah, yeah.
part.
Just to be clear, I'm the one playing the baritone saxophone on that track.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There are two saxophones on the track.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thanks.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
Yeah, it's exciting. Bye,
Bye. Thanks,
everybody.
guys.